This is the features video for the 0.14.5 release. Sorry, it's been a while. It's been a long summer, lots of trips and stuff like that, but we have a few new features. Oh, I don't know, maybe 10 or 12, and about 20 or so bug fixes. This will be a big one. The first feature, and probably the most notable, is if you import a GCS file directly, we now immediately import the portrait and add it to the character sheet. Thanks, Nick. Legendsmith created some basic abstract difficulty icons, status icons that we've added to our list. They don't currently do anything, but they are statuses that you can put on tokens to help remind you if there's any positive or negative effects. At some point in the future, we will tie this into some kind of thing that we can do in the modifier bucket, but for right now, at least the icons are there. We've added a system setting so that when you hold down the control key, in the past, if you held down the control key, then your roles were either going to be private if you were GM or a blind role to the GM. And now that's actually mirrored in the chat window. So if I hold down the control key, you'll see that it changes to private GM role. And if I was a player, it would change to blind GM role. And I'm just, as I hold the control key down, it does that. Now, we were already doing that for our roles. This just makes it more explicit that you see that we're switching back and forth. If you don't like this behavior, there is a system setting to turn this off. Entries in the damage column are now actually can execute OTFs, and it's mainly so that you can put PDF references. So here he's going to throw a melee net, but it doesn't really do damage. It does stuff. So this is now a PDF reference, and if I click it, it will take him to that PDF page that discusses melees. The on-the-fly formulas now handle URL links, also with the override text. As well, we now support override text for PDF links, although not in the damage column. Unfortunately, that just displays what comes from GCA or GCS. At least we interpret it that way. But if you see here, I have a link to google.com, which will open up an external window to Google. This is the same link, but it's got override text for G, and this is the Melee Nets PDF reference, but it now just says nets. So if I open this up, you can see that we do support anything that has HTTP or HTTPS we think of as an external link. And then, as I said, the PDF thing now supports and understands the override text. So you can change references in your OTFs to that. The next feature is basically for quality of life. If you've created an on-the-fly formula like I have here, which sets up the -3 to hit vitals and then does a fine spear attack, but I call it the gut thrust. When you click on gut thrust and it executes in the chat window, we try to put the flavor text down there so you at least sort of can remember maybe where it came from. And Christopher Rice has started to use Foundry, and so needed some additional chat commands, and said sometimes he just needs to roll 50 copies of 3d6 to do stuff. So you can now /R, you give it the on-the-fly formula that you're going to execute, either straight roll or damage roll, and then a number of how many. So this will roll 50 3d6s. Now, we don't display all 50 3d6s, but you can see in the chat log it has printed them. And if he needs to generate 5 quick 3D cuts, he can execute this command. This one does actually roll the dice. Now, some of you may not know this, but there's actually shortcuts even for that. Since I thought that rolling dice and rolling damage might be necessary quickly, you can just type /3D, then a space, and it'll roll 3D here. I'll /3D, I just get 3D. And if I need to get 50 3Ds, I do that. Now that gets broadcast to everybody, unless he switches it to, say, the private GM role or the self role or something like that. Or if you precede it with the bang sign, it does make it a private role to the GM. You can see it whispered to all the GMs. And the same quick format goes for damage. You can just put / and then the damage formula, and it will roll that damage. And if you throw a number after it, it'll roll it that many times. The next expanded chat command is the selected role /SR. This will execute this OTF, whatever the OTF is, against the selected tokens. So I could take these 4 tokens over here and do selected roll perception. It'll roll perception against those 4 tokens. But it's really just executing an on-the-fly formula, so you could put anything in there, which includes chat commands. So I could selective roll HP -1. All 4 of those tokens will lose 1 point of HP. And I can reset their HP too with selected roll, those 4 tokens, HP reset. So as the GM, if you want to reset the whole window, you can select a token, press Control-A, that selects everything, do a selected roll /HP reset. Everybody's HP is reset. Then I'll do /FP reset. Everybody's fatigues are reset. And then if there is a status, like I'll say status plus prone, this will set everybody who's selected to prone. And of course I can change that status clear, and this will clear all the statuses for all the selected tokens. So you could create a quick macro like this where you're resetting the HP, the FP, and all the statuses for all of the tokens that you have selected. So again, I could just select everybody and then execute that macro. The next, I guess you could say, is a bug fix or a feature. GCS updated some of their master library where some of their campaign references show up as BX. But if you are using the combined PDF, then it wouldn't know where to go. So now the code can check if the reference says BX, but you're only having B, then it will put in the correct offset and go against your combined PDF. And this one everybody's probably seen because it's slipped in a while back. But if you make a successful attack roll, then the chat log will automatically throw a damage button at the bottom so that you can, click it without having to open up your character sheet. Let's give myself a -32 and see if I can succeed this roll. Nope, I failed. So you can see it doesn't put the roll damage button down there because you didn't obviously succeed. And finally, the bug fixes. Now, normally I don't go through a lot of the bug fixes, but I wanted to go through some of these because I know that people have been waiting for them, and I want to, bring them to your attention so to let you know you can start doing this stuff again. The first one is the drag and drop journal entries. Now, you may not have known this, but you can take a journal entry and you can drag it onto your character anywhere. I'll just do it here on the quick notes, and it creates an on-the-fly formula. If you click on that, it opens up the journal entry. And if you had a PDF and you did it with a PDF, it wouldn't open the PDF. Well, now it does. So I could drag this entry here to the PDF, and voila, people can get to the PDF. So this is a great way if you have your own PDFs or anything like this, that you can just link them right onto the character sheets. Now, we had problems with people on Macs and Linux with extended characters. We think we put a bug fix in, which then caused an exception on the import, and we believe that's all fixed. So once 0.14.5 goes out, hopefully everybody on every platform can read every character with no exceptions. We had some problems parsing piercing, small piercing and large piercing and huge piercing. That's all been fixed for the Mook generator and the OTF parsing. If you had advantages and disadvantages in containers, the totals would sub up per container. Our code was totaling everything. So you might have a character that looks like it had 400 points in advantages and minus 300 points in disadvantages. But we're now doing it the way that GCS does it, so it looks correct. We had problems with GCA and GCA 5. 5, we weren't exporting the block values correctly. We are doing that now. And GCA, we had some problems when you were importing items that had notes. That doesn't blow up anymore. And if you had an attack with a double quote in the name, like to show ammo size in inches, that was messing us up. So that is okay now. You can go back to putting, you're using a 20-inch round or something like that. And then, as always, just a ton of other fixes that may have been out there. I won't go through them all. I apologize for the long time between releases. Summertime is a slow time for Nick and I. We have a lot of social obligations. And, well, you know, it's summertime. It's nice out. We're about down here in Georgia, and it's warm. And, okay, well, enough of that. Thank you all for playing this game. Nick and I play this a couple times a month. Our team gets together and plays, and we just enjoy playing GURPS online. It's fun. And even we look at our software and go, oh, gosh, it would be really nice if we could add this feature. And Nick and I have ideas going off the page for what we want to do with this. So who knows? The next few months might show some very interesting things. And as always, thank you for watching.